Let's see what's the word with it.
3.5 makes me think that we can be.
You from? That's the Toonchi from Fox. But I know for sure Toonchi got a strap. No, only got one chain on. Oh, that was a one shot Rolex. That is gonna bust. You better not no regular fat, bro.
So for people who don't know, there was this viral long video, like some people from another neighborhood riding around basically picking on people, and at one point in the video they see him and you hear from the back seat like, nah, that's Toonchi 5, he ain't a regular crab. The people in the video knew that you weren't somebody to play with.
If you're from out here, you know what's going on, like, you know, everybody know who to play with, you know, we can get up on him, but some people, as a you being smart, it's like I'm not gonna play that game with him because, you know.
In today's video, we're going to be speaking about Toonchi 5 from the Rollin Hunnits. We're going to cover everything from his court cases to how he would be shot and paralyzed and then he would recover. But let's dive right into it. Now, like we said, Toonchi 5 would be from the Rollin Hunnits and he would be out of the Westmont district. In the Rollin Hunnits would be comprised of a few different gangs, but Toonchi 5 would be from the original block Crip, and some may refer to them as Blue Flame Gang. And this would be in dedication to a member named Blue Flame, aka Low Flame, who was killed. Now, as you can see to the north, the Rollin Hunnits would share a border with the 8 Trey Gangsters. And if you look to the right, you can see they share a border with the Hoovers, the 107 Salos to be exact. And as you can see right here, Toonchi 5 would have Salo whacked out on his cheek, and he would have Blue Flame Gang on the side of it. Now let's dive into all of Toonchi 5's adult cases. We're going to start off on October 15th of 2017 at 1:50 in the morning. And on that day, a car full of Rollin Hunnit members would be targeted and 4 of them would be shot, and the vehicle would end up crashing. And one of the only members of the Rollin Hunnits that wasn't shot would call somebody named Rayvon Dampier, and he would tell him that somebody named Baby Killer had just been shot, and for them to meet him at the hospital. Dampier would then go to the hospital, and he would meet with Walker and a couple other Rollin Hunnit members. And the other Rollin Hunnit members he would meet up with would be Low Killshot, somebody named Whaler, somebody named Maxwell, Gordon, who would be Toonchi 5, somebody named Jesse Fuller, aka Hank, and Flame Gang Uzi. And they would all meet up in the hospital parking lot. Dampier would later tell detectives that Fuller, aka Hank, and Gordon, aka Toonchi 5, ran their hood. He would also tell detectives that Fuller, aka Hank, told the group just based on Baby Killer being shot that they had to go right out and slide on the enemies. Baby Killer was shot twice in the neck, and the other people that were shot was Lady Blocktober, Infant Triggs, and somebody named C-Rag. The group of Rollin Hunnit members would then leave the hospital, and they would caravan to somebody named Steve-O's house, which was in the Rollin Hunnits territory. And when they got there, they would discuss what had happened, and they would come up with a plan on what to do. Fuller, aka Hank, would then tell the group that they were going to slide on the enemies, and they would decide that Walker and Moore, aka Low Killshot, would be the shooters. And they would then decide that Maxwell's black Audi A7 would be the lead vehicle. Second would be a burgundy Nissan Maxima. Third would be Dampier's silver Honda Accord. And they would tell detectives that Walker already had a gun on him, and Moore, aka Low Killshot, would use the neighborhood gun that was stashed in the alley. Fuller, aka Hank, would then say that he needed females to participate, so he would tell Dampier to go pick up Lady Toon and Lady Blue Flame. And once Dampier got back to Steve-O's house with Lady Toon and Lady Blue Flame, they would all leave in tandem, all 3 vehicles. And the black Audi would be leading the way, with Maxwell, Flame Gang Uzi, and Walker as passengers. And behind the black Audi would be the burgundy Nissan. And inside the burgundy Nissan would be Whaler, Toonchi 5, and Moore, aka Low Killshot. And the last vehicle that was following would be Dampier's silver Honda Accord, and they were using that as a decoy vehicle, just in case the police got involved. The 3 vehicles would then drive to Gardena to look for some Gardena paybacks. When they got there, they wouldn't see anybody outside, so they would decide to drive to the 8 Trey Gangsters. And around 11:30 in the morning, they would drive to St. Andrew's Place in 77th Street. That's when they would see a group of people standing outside and congregating. The vehicles would then park, and Walker would get out of the Audi, and Moore, aka Low Killshot, would get out of the burgundy Nissan. They would then run towards the group and open fire on the men. And later on after the arrest, Dampier would tell police that he saw Walker get into the Audi, and he saw Moore, aka Low Killshot, get back into the burgundy Nissan. The vehicles would then all leave in the same order, and they would go back to Steve-O's house. Later on, they would find out that somebody named Benton and Stern were shot and killed at the scene. And once the group got back to Steve-O's house, Dampierre would say that he heard Fuller aka Hank talking to Walker, and Hank would tell Walker that they were weird for killing some old dudes. Walker would then reply and say F them, they lived in the T-words anyways. And after this double murder, no arrest would be made for a little while. But on November 13th of 2017, which would be a month later, Toonchi 5 would be arrested on an unrelated case, and he would be arrested for a felon in possession of a firearm. But luckily for Toonchi 5, he would get a DA reject on this case, and he would be a free man after this. But 5 months after the double murder and the 8 trays, police would make an arrest on March 8th of 2018. But for some reason, the only people that would be arrested would be Walker, Moore, aka Lil Killshot, Wheeler, Maxwell, and Dampierre. And don't forget that it's alleged. We're not saying it's true, but it's alleged. According to Dampierre and other people, that Maxwell and Walker were in the same vehicle as Flame Gang Uzi, and Wheeler and Moore, aka Lil Killshot, was in the same vehicle as Toonchi 5. And Dampierre would be in the vehicle with the 2 females that were in the back, and that was just the decoy vehicle. So Uzi and Toonchi 5 would be the only 2 that wasn't arrested out of that group. And Fuller, aka Hank, also wasn't arrested. But just 3 months after they were all arrested, Toonchi 5 would be arrested on June 14th of 2018 for an unrelated crime out of Inglewood. And he would be arrested for 1 count of robbery, 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon that wasn't a firearm, 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon with force causing great bodily injury, and another count of robbery. But as you can see to the right, the offense date would be March 24th of 2018. And don't forget that he was arrested in June, so the offense date was 3 months before he was even arrested. And this right here is where things get tricky, because he would have 3 co-defendants on this case, 2 females and 1 other male. And the only person to be arrested on March 24th of 2018 would be somebody named Noshi Hughes. And for those of you that watch my channel, you may think that name sounds familiar, and you may think she looks familiar. But that's because Noshi Hughes would be from the Rollin 30s, and we spoke about her before in the BK7 video. And out of the group of 4, Noshi would be the only one charged with 1 count of assault with a dangerous weapon. Toonchi 5 and the other 2 would be charged with 4 counts like we spoke about. Toonchi 5 would then have to sit in the county jail for the next 4 months, but on October 9th of 2018, he would take a plea deal, and he would plead no contest to assault with a deadly weapon causing great bodily injury, and he would have all the other counts dismissed or set to the side. And on that same day of October 9th of 2018, they would sentence him to 2 years in state prison. But as you can see at the bottom, he would have a total credit of 241 days. And his other 2 co-defendants would pretty much get 2 years also. But as for Noshi Hughes, she would have this case dismissed. Toonchi 5 would then have to sit down from October 2018 until the beginning of 2020. But just 5 months after his release in 2020, Toonchi 5's life would change for a little bit. Because on May 6th of 2020, Toonchi 5 and his homie Charles Lewis III, aka Chucky, would be shot. And the shooting happened at 2:53 in the afternoon on the corner of 111th Street and Western Avenue. When officers responded, they would find Chucky dead on the scene, and they would find Toonchi 5 with gunshot wounds to the lower body. They would then take Toonchi 5 to the hospital, where he would survive, but he would be paralyzed for a few weeks. This would be a video that Toonchi uploaded to a story on Instagram, and as you can see in the caption right there, it says that he was paralyzed. Eventually, Toonchi would recover, and then on November 10th of 2020, they would drop the video Not a Regular Crab. And this video right here would go viral in the streets of LA, as most know. But just 5 months after dropping that video, on April 29th of 2021, Toonchi 5 would be arrested out of Inglewood, and they would charge him with 1 count of attempted murder. But as you can see to the right, the offense date would be February 22nd of 2020, which would be a whole year before he was arrested. And that would be just a few weeks after he was released from prison. And that would be just 3 months before he was shot with his best friend. And on this case, even though he was arrested a year later, he would have no co-defendants on this case. It would just be him alone. And it's alleged that on February 22nd of 2020, Toonchi 5 and a couple other Rollin Hunnits would be in Inglewood. That's when they would see a couple enemies, and they would get into an argument, and then a shootout would happen.
Oh, Fleazy Gang.
I am.
Oh, Fleazy Gang.
Oh, IFG, blood, Inglewood family.
Let's start rolling.
Oh, flaming, nigga, this the B team, blood, what's bracket?
But exactly 2 weeks later, he would bail out for $100,000 on August 18th of 2021. And he would stay free on the streets for about a year fighting this case. But on June 13th of 2022, he would take a plea deal, and he would plead no contest to the assault with a firearm on a person, and he would have the attempted murder dismissed due to the plea negotiation. And on that same day of June 13th of 2022, they would give him 2 years in state prison. But as you can see at the bottom, he would have 824 days of total credit, meaning that he was able to go home that day. This right here would be Toonchi 5 and his lawyer, and as you can see in the caption, his lawyer would write, "Lined up for trial on a life case, and he walked right out the door with me. Appreciate your trust, brother. Much respect. Keep doing your thing." And then he would tag Toonchi 5's old Instagram. And Toonchi 5 would use the same lawyer as Draco the Ruler. As you can see right here, the same exact lawyer would post a picture with Draco with a caption saying that they beat the LADA's office. And shortly after beating this case, he would go back and forth with a couple people from Inglewood. As you can see right here, this would be Tiny Munchie from Inglewood family. And he would post, "Without a gun, everybody know Toon is scary," talking about Toonchi 5. And as you can see, he tweeted this on August 10th of 2022, which would be 2 months after Toonchi beat the case. But that right there is going to wrap it up for the story of Toonchi 5 from the Rollin Hunnits. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. But comment, like, and subscribe. It's Respectable Rants.